Dr. Jeff Goins with another Dwarven Tavern review of D&D Player's Handbook, 5th edition. Now we're going into part 2, which is actually playing the game. All that so far has been based on generating your character, which is cool. I like the organization of the book. So we have ability scores and their modifiers, which are the same as the older editions. And so we've got the explanation of the advantage and the disadvantage, which I've already explained. You roll 2 dice. If you have the advantage, you take the better of the 2. If you have the disadvantage, you take the lesser of the 2, the worst. Then it goes with ability checks. So, and it also has a very nice little thing about giving you an idea of what the difficulty class or the DC of that task is. Like if it's very easy, it's a DC of 5. If it's nearly impossible, it's a DC of 30. So try and roll over a 30 on a 20-sided die. You have to have some buku bonuses and roll pretty good. So that explains it. Then it has an explanation of how to use each ability, right? Such as strength and dexterity and so forth. And what those abilities give you the ability to do. And what you would check against that, such as if you have dexterity, which if you don't have dexterity, you shouldn't be out. But if you have dexterity bonuses, then you can make some dexterity checks, such as sleight of hand or stealth or acrobatics, because you're dexterous, right? Other dexterity checks would be things like picking a lock, disabling a trap, and so forth. And then it has constitution checks, which include things like holding your breath, march or labor for hours without rest, going without sleep, surviving without food and water, etc. Then charisma checks are things like find the best person to talk to for news, rumors, and or gossip, blend into a crowd, you know. You don't want anybody to know who you are. You're very charismatic. That's hard to do. I know. I always stand out. So, in Chapter 8, we have adventuring issues such as movement, like speed, activity while traveling, the environment, like, falling, which if the environment is really steep, you fall. Suffocating, like if the environment's not there, you suffocate. It covers light and visibility, interacting with objects. Hey, how you doing? Talking to you. I'm sure that's not what it means. And social interaction and role playing, which is a huge issue because role playing is kind of the name of the game. Other than Dungeons and Dragons, it is all about role playing. So it goes over a really cool feature that is rarely played, and that is downtime activities such as researching, recuperating. Let's see what it's talking about when it says researching. Let's go over that a little bit. The time in between adventures is a great chance to perform research, gaining insight into mysteries that have unfurled over the course of the campaign. Research can include poring over dusty tomes and crumbling scrolls in a library, or buying drinks for the locals to pry rumors and gossip from their lips. And if you've seen some of these guys' lips, you don't want to pry anything out of them. When you begin your research, a DM determines whether the information is available, how many days of downtime it will take to find it, and whether there are any restrictions on your research, such as needing to seek out a specific individual, tome, or location. So, you first determine what you want to research, and then the DM says it's going to take this long, how many days of downtime that it will take, and then you play that out. For each day of research, you must spend a gold piece to cover your expenses. This cost is in addition to your normal lifestyle expenses as discussed in Chapter 5. So, pretty cool aspect. Then it goes into combat, which is pretty straightforward, and it's pretty similar to the older editions. It has interacting with objects around you as a little sidebar here, like, hey, how you doing? I'm talking to you. And then you get into combat because the object doesn't answer, which is rude. So it's got moving around other creatures, flying movement, disengaging, dodging, attacking, and etc. When you disengage, if you take the disengage action, your movement doesn't provoke opportunity attacks, which is, you know, an attack of opportunity in a different edition. You know, like 3. And then, of course, it includes the attack rolls, unseen attackers, and all that good stuff, all the combat things, including knockouts, mounting and dismounting, etc. Then it goes into the rules of magic. What is a spell? And so forth. It includes a very cool thing, aside from the schools, the various schools of magic. It includes different components, including the ritualize, which, let's see if I can find it here. The ritual spell, longer casting times, blah, 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 including spells cast as rituals. And the ritual spells are marked with an asterisk or something. And it takes 10 minutes longer to cast the ritual spell, but it doesn't use a spell slot. So some spells, not all of them, but some spells can be, you know, if you take longer to cast it, which means it can't be probably not in combat unless it's a siege. It can be ritualized without using a spell slot. And it has a pretty good use, and they're all pretty similar, right? And then pretty similar to the old versions of the book. Got some pretty nice illustrations. And then it goes on to the appendices, which includes conditions such as incapacitated, grappled, paralyzed. Grappling is another thing in combat where you just, it's just an opposed roll instead of all that other stuff in the old edition. You know what I'm talking about. Paralyzed, petrified, etc. Then it talks about the gods of the multiverse, including Eberron, which I thought was really cool. Eberron, Dragonlance, Forgotten Realms, Greyhawk. Remember Greyhawk? Then it's got the fantasy historical pantheons. It's got a list of the deities. Then in Appendix C, it's got a list of all the planes of existence. And a very nice illustration here of planes of existence. And then it's got Appendix D, which is some creatures, creature statistics. So it's like if your ranger, you know, has a preferred creature like the giant spider, a ranger with a giant spider. Just imagine that. Or the wizard's familiar, and so forth. And then it's got some tried and true baddies like skeletons and zombies and such. Then it's got a list of inspired reading. This book gets 5 out of 5 axes from me because they finally did it right. They may have made up for the edition that won't be mentioned in this one. I think it's a real winner. I think it's going to really do well. It has already for the last 2 days, as of this review, has gone to the top of Amazon's sales, Amazon book sales, #1. So what does that tell you? You know, before you would see D&D books in the back of like Walden Books or, you know, one of these other bookstores in the back and a little section about that thick that's got like, you know, Keep on a Borderland and a player's handbook that somebody returned because their mother got mad. And so now it's like the biggest thing there is, which is the coolest thing ever because we love it. So 5 out of 5 axes, Dwarven Tavern reviews, 5th edition, Dungeons and Dragons, player's handbook, poke it. And don't forget to visit Wizards of the Coast, not actual wizards. They will cast a spell on you and make you their servant. And don't forget to give us a like, look us up on Facebook, subscribe. And I am Jeff Goins, Dr. Jeff Goins from Dwarven Tavern Reviews. Thank you for watching. 5 Axes, Player's Handbook. We'll see you next time.